beautiful.
Huge fan. Had your poster on my wall.
That's the moment. I think we have a room full of people, and you probably hear that all the time, right? You were our generation's like first concert.
Oh my God, first crush.
Are you sick of hearing it?
No.
No, you never get sick of it.
It's so awesome. Okay, so Rick, all of a sudden, here we are, Magnificent Vibration. How, why, where'd it come from? Author.
Not quite sure. No, it just started out with as an idea God talks to me. I've always wanted to be able to talk to God. Well, I wanted to ask him why the avocado seed is so big.
Oh my God.
Seriously. What's up with the avocado seed, really? How big has it got to be?
It is big.
Wait, how does that thought even? That is awesome that that's what you're thinking.
I have ADD. I'm very random.
Doesn't everyone?
So it started out with that, and what I would do if I'd love to have a conversation with God. So I started writing what it would be like from this character's perspective, and God actually took on quite an attitude. So it wasn't the father figure type thing that we all hope. He got a bit of an attitude that we're messing up the planet and doing stupid stuff to his wonderful world. So it just kind of went from there. So it's a humorous book, and the guy has conversations with God throughout the book, but mostly it's a story of this guy and this girl who get together, and he's seeking some kind of carnal salvation, and she's trying to save the world, maybe. But it's a kind of an extreme novel, and it goes all over the place, and it's been compared to Portnoy's Complaint, if you remember that one, which is about a sexually obsessed guy, which is not autobiographical, believe me.
But it sounds so good coming from a rock star.
and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So it's quite a mix of, and quite an extreme story.
And are you a religious man?
And Melissa's Australian accent comes
Okay,
out.
here we go.
Yeah, she gets accents no matter who we're talking to. But you don't really have one, but it comes out a little bit.
Well, I can bring it out if it'll make you talk more like that.
There we go.
Will it make me talk more like that?
I was raised very religious. I think we all were, and I think at some point that doesn't. I find as a lot of people I talk to my age and kind of this generation, we start searching spiritually, because a lot of the dogma that we're taught is correct. Suddenly in the wide world doesn't seem to fit anymore. And like one of the points in the book, although I want to stress it's a humorous book, it's dark humor, it's not preachy or anything, it's all, this guy's basically obsessed with his penis. And
that's good morning mom talk.
We love it. Oh my gosh, question already.
And he has a very personal connection. He calls it Woody, because you got a name, you got to know who's destroying your life, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So our kids won't be reading this book.
No, your kids won't be reading it, but at a certain age it will, because it's actually a spiritual book and a metaphysical book, and sex is a big part of that. You know, it's a big part of our lives, and certainly a big part of this guy's life. And it's not autobiographical at all. It's completely fictional.
So wait, let me go. Sorry. So I was showing my son. I mean, look, you're a rock star. You did a lot of television, acting. Now you're obviously a novelist. You wrote an autobiography. But I always like to include my kids in everything that we're doing. We have a company called The Moms, and so this morning I was showing my son, look, this is who we have an event with today, and it's a video, and I put on Jesse's Girl, and my son loves music. But it's so different than the music that they hear today. I go, Jared, listen to this, and he can appreciate music. He goes, Mom, that's weird stuff. But like, how do we get our kids to appreciate?
You don't. I mean, your parents didn't try to get you to appreciate,
They did. I used to like Air Supply. Yes. I like Air Supply. Unless I have music issues, but I'm just saying, like.
No, we're talking like Marvin Gaye appreciation.
No, but this was good music. This was good music.
I actually get a lot of young kids coming up to me saying, "Oh, you sing Jesse's Girl, right?" So it has hit a lot of different ages, but I mean, it just depends on the type of music they like. You know, I know a lot of kids actually are into all kinds of music. My kids are into everything from Led Zeppelin to all the new stuff to the guys, the robots that won the Grammy recently.
Oh yeah, what was the name of those robots?
Daft Punk.
Yeah, Daft Punk, that's right. Okay, we're going to open it up because everyone's dying right now. So, Erica Katz, what do you want to ask Rick?
Hi, Rick. So, when you see somebody like Justin Bieber, I mean, you were basically the Justin Bieber of your day. I remember in fourth grade we had your poster up on the board because we weren't allowed to do that in school. So, when you see somebody like Justin Bieber and it's totally all over the place, what do you think about it because you were there?
Well, you know, he's going through. You mean him specifically, or just?
Well, yeah, and how he's acting all crazy and he kind of thinks it's going to
Yeah,
last
but he's
forever.
a kid, you know, and he doesn't have any. He's kind of fallen in a little bit into the Elvis syndrome, you know, where everyone's around him going, "Yeah, that's a great idea. You're really cool." So I think, you know, yeah, I don't know what his family's like, but I think a young guy needs a young person. I always tell us people who say, "Do you have any advice?" I say, "Stay close to your family, because it will." The music business or any kind of business like that will try and suck you away from your family so that they can take advantage of you in whatever ways they can, either to hang out or to get money from you or to just take advantage. And I think it's very important. It was really helpful for me. But I was older than someone like Justin Bieber when things started to happen to me, so I already had a bit of a head on my shoulders already. But you know, I mean, it's a growing experience, honestly, what he's going through, and you got to cut in some slack to a degree, but you know, maybe he used to spank him occasionally too, but I don't think his parents ever did that. But you don't know what it's like in someone's shoes, so you really can't point fingers, and you're only seeing a part of what's going on in his head, and it's a lot of pressure. It's a giant amount of pressure.
Do you remember the pressure?
Yeah, it was even at my age, and I was about 30 when it hit. It was intense. It was really intense.
Yes, it was
And there's no way that could feel real. You suddenly feel like you're Superman. And
So how do you come down from that? How do you live a normal life?
I think you got to have real people around you. You know, if you've got sycophants around you, you end up honestly like Elvis, you know, dead on a bathroom floor because everyone's going, "Yeah, you're the king. Whatever you do is cool." No, you're not overweight. You know, yeah, that was a great show. I mean, it's like you need people, honest people, to connect and keep you grounded.
So who did you connect with?
My family, plus I had some really strong, good friends that are still friends with me. Doug Davidson from Young and the Restless, and my dad my mom and dad were great. Just knowing that they were there, and my family was strong growing up, so I didn't kind of really have that issue that I needed to pull away from.
Lucky you.
Yeah, but so I still messed up. I mean, God, I still did
Isn't
stupid things and said stupid things, and you know, there wasn't the amount of TV and computer and stuff, you know, and internet on us all then. In fact, I was going, my God, this is amazing. You know, with MTV, you just have to have one single and everybody knows who you are. Whereas back before then, you had to have like 3 or 4 albums before people recognized you walking through the airport. When I was starting out, it was MTV. You're instantly recognizable. Now there's
So many layers.
By the second, everybody is going, there's this person, check them out. So it's pretty intense, and it's certainly hard for a younger person.
You recently, I mean, you've done a lot also like documentaries, and Dave Grohl and other musicians really of today have really spoken about how great you are and were. How does that feel for you to have still that sort of legacy?
I preferred being the mindless, one-dimensional teen. Really, it's more fun. No, it's great. I mean, it's really great to get recognition from guys that you respect too. And I think it's just a matter of staying in there and doing your best work, which I've always tried to do. I try to put out the best record I can, and the best book I can, and do the best tours I can, and focus on that. Have fun.
Julie.
Hi, Rick. Julie Sandler, Neighbors. Long-time fan. Your Rick Force deal, by the way, was phenomenal.
Come on, Star Wars.
You've been very public with your battle with depression, which is a gift for anybody who deals with it and suffers from it. So thank you for that. But I'm curious if it's the celebrity that forced you to come public with it, or did you just realize that you needed to come out because this is what was going on and you wanted to help?
You mean about depression?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote my own autobiography. Usually what happens with celebrities is that they talk their story to a writer. You know, I'm about to spill this all over my crotch. It's boiling water.
I can hold it for you, Rick.
You held it for me, thank you. And they tried that with me, and I read it, and I thought, well, it's could be anybody. They did like a chapter, and I said, well, this could be anybody. So I'd already written about 30,000 words, so I said, I want to write it, and they read it, what I'd written, and said, yeah, you should. So I had to write my whole story, or it wouldn't have made sense. And depression is a big part of my story because that's where all the songs come from, and that's where anything creative comes from, is being depressed. And I look in, I'm about to sneeze. I know it sounds like a cough. I'm good, I'm back. So, ADD, sorry. Yes?
Oh,
depression.
Depression.
So, each one of my book is written in like small segments because I just lose interest.
Yes.
Look at chicken. And so it had to be part of the story, my depression. And I was kind of nervous about it because it's not cool. It's not like, oh yeah, I had a terrible heroin habit, you know, went to rehab, found God, checked out, all that. Depression is a life sentence. You can't really go to rehab to get out, you know, to shake it. So I channeled it into writing, and I found doing the autobiography that doing something creative with it, so that you're not going, oh, this is hammering me and taking me down. You're going, well, it is, but I'm going to do this with it that'll pull me up. And it's finding that whatever that thing is within you.
But how old? You were young when you.
Yeah.
So how did you? But how did you at that point take it and make it a positive?
I didn't know what it was then. I was just a moody kid, known as a moody kid. But I played guitar and I got into music, and that was really where I put the depression. You know, it was hard to be depressed being on stage, so I followed that.
Right, but you're joking also about ADD, but I mean, a lot of it's a big thing today with our generation because I think it seems like every other kid has something.
Yeah.
So, how do you deal with that? And again, in a very positive way, without it being a negative. You know, I think there's so many negatives.
It is a negative. There are depression's a negative too.
But it's not like so many people suffer from it. I mean, my mom
really
suffers slightly from it. And
ADD you're talking about?
No.
With depression?
Depression. And I feel like if there were more people in the public eye who could speak openly about it, then there wouldn't be such a stigma, and we could also help people that, you know, there's a borderline with it where you can turn into dark places where it's preventable. It is completely preventable.
You cannot get dragged down, sucked down into the spiral. And I think a lot of people are embarrassed to talk about it because it's really the syndrome, hey, you doing? Oh, good. You know, I don't do that anymore. If someone says, hey, you doing? I don't feel good. I say, oh, actually, I'm kind of depressed. Most of the time, they'll go, oh, good, me too. Yeah, I mean, it's a social stigma of, hey, everything's cool, everything's going great.
Right.
My family's all good. Well, my family's a friggin' mess.
Right.
You know, I'm worried about my kids, and I don't know, you know.
And I didn't sleep last night.
Yeah, I didn't sleep last night because, you know, I didn't get along with my husband, or we had a terrible argument, or, you know, so admitting depression is part of that. It's like, I'm not as good, you know, I'm not as good as you because I'm depressed, and, you know. And there are people, you know, who take advantage of that and go, oh, man, that really sucks. With a big smile on their face. But,
well, I applaud you for being out.
Yeah.
well, you got it. I mean,
Very important.
Hi, last year you went back to General Hospital, you know, for a role that many of us fell in love with you for. Can you tell us a bit about that? And your real son was there? Your son was on there with you?
oh, yeah, he did part, but he doesn't play my son on it. He did. My real son did one part on General Hospital, but the guy that plays my son, they say, would have been an interesting casting session. They wanted someone that looked like me, so it was kind of limited a lot of people. But it was good going back. It's a lot of work. Self-acting is very, very difficult. It's very incredibly time-consuming, and you're there all day, and there's no action, so it's all talking, it's all dialogue. And so it's a lot of dialogue. Some of the actors are great on it. They kill it. Me, it's a lot of work. I've got to really work hard to memorize the lines and so that I can get to an acting point, not just have line memorization. I remember when I was doing it in the 80s, they had cue cards, rolling cue cards, and I got, you know, I'd be touring all the time, so I didn't have time to learn the lines, so I'd be talking, and I could see out of the corner of my eye the red light go off on the camera, meaning they were on them now, right? And I just, this wasn't done. So there's other actors like emoting, and I'm like going, and then I realize they're, you know, see they're coming to the end of their dialogue. You turn back to them. And, you know.
Right, you did cheat on me.
Can you talk about Californication and your role on it?
What's that?
Can you talk about Californication and your role on it? 'Cause I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, I wasn't playing myself on Californication. I was playing a guy named Rick Springfield with Rick Springfield's history. Because they took, you know, I never did blow. I never was, hopefully, was never that kind of abusive, egotistical user of human beings. But it was really fun to play somebody like that because we've all got that in us, and I'm sure I've been there at some point. But it was an acting gig, and they just happened to, you know, they were looking for someone who had some history in the 80s, so that then they could write this crazy story around it. But I never paid for sex.
Did you find it easier writing this novel than you would writing an album?
Writing an album?
Yeah.
It's a similar thing, writing an album to writing the book. An album is certainly longer than, you know, people you ask about a song, it's usually a lot faster. But it's a very similar thing. The writing comes from the same place. You're still sort of looking to say something in maybe a unique way, to say something truthful, but, you know, songs start from a point of truth, but you still have to make it a good song, and sometimes you can, a lot of the time, you kind of, you know, don't let truth get in the way of a great story kind of thing. So there is an element of storytelling and songwriting that has helped me with writing that.
I have to ask, what musicians would you want to collaborate with in the future? If you had your, like, pick of anyone.
Roger and Hammerstein.
For real?
But they're dead.
No,
yeah,
I know.
No, that's what I grew up with.
Do you love Broadway?
Yeah. Well, that's what my parents. I didn't grow up with TV. When I was a kid living in Australia, we didn't have TV, so we'd sit around the player piano and sing old Broadway songs, and it was great. My dad had a great voice, and that's what the music that I grew up with.
Oh my God, a Rick Springfield Broadway show. Yeah. Do you love it? We've got Beautiful with Carole King now.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Next?
Yeah.
Is that next?
Would that be awesome?
Did you do that? Did you do that with your kids, or did they really grow up in like the whole world of like
My kids?
devices? Yeah.
No, my kids weren't subject. I took time off actually when my sons were born. I pulled the plug in 1985 and disappeared for a few years to help raise my son. I have a great relationship with them because of that, but it was, you know, it's good and bad like everything is. There is no all good or all bad. It's always a mix.
So true. So on that note, I think we're all going to get a signed copy. And how great was this, Rick Springfield? Hashtag magnificent vibration
And Springfield Mamarazzi.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to stay right here. We're going to get Rick signed. Is he ready over there to come over? Okay. Come on over, Rick.
Are you coming over or am I bringing you?
What would you prefer?
Yeah,
Okay,
probably
let's
be.
go.
I could lean on the table.
They're going to bring the table.